Are estate agents Rightmove receptionists? Talk to me.
Yeah, well, you can argue that they are, in fairness. We do a lot of work with agents about training, and we find quite often what happens is that in the absence, there is no marketing strategy for someone's home. It gets posted onto Rightmove, and then we wait for the phone to ring.
Good stuff. So where did you come up with that phrase? It's a great phrase, if you don't mind
saying. Sarah's phrase as we were going through on the many journeys in the car.
Okay. We spend a lot of time on the motorway, and we discuss the positives and negatives of the industry.
Yeah, we just fly by.
Oh, they fly! It's so much fun, but it's better than Brian's singing, I must say. I came up with the Rightmove receptionist thing because, and I must say, it's a bit of a caveat, there is a lot of agents doing a really good job.
Yeah.
But there are also, unfortunately, and we see it, a lot of people who have just become order takers for the portals.
Yep.
I used Rightmove.
Got to get it on Rightmove. We've got to get it on Rightmove.
Yeah, I did an article a couple of years ago. I believe agents are just like pizza order takers. You know.
Yeah. Do you want a garage with that? You know.
Do you deliver?
Free collection.
It's a mobile home. Sorry, Sarah.
No, listen, it's right. But sometimes, as a bit of a shock tactic, I don't know if anybody has seen it, and maybe your viewers have. We also show Google Duplex, which is something that shows basically AI technology, voice technology, making appointments on behalf of the person who uses the phone. It's complicated. Google Duplex. But we use that as a shock tactic because if we're not careful, we're going to find ourselves in a situation where we don't need to be there as estate agents unless we get to grips with stopping being a Rightmove receptionist and being a little bit more
So when you say,
proactive.
basically what you're saying is people just whack it on Rightmove and spray and pray and hope and just wait for the phone calls to come in.
Post and pray, absolutely, yeah. That does seem to be the case in many locations.
I'd say vast majority.
Yeah, vast majority. And
why is that, do you think?
Well, because I think ultimately agents can be led by the customer to a certain degree. Are you on Rightmove? How quickly can you get my property onto Rightmove? Seems to be one of the stock answers from clients, from sellers, rather than the control coming back to the agent to say, actually, it is an essential part of our marketing mix, but here's a strategy that involves Rightmove, but it also involves the people sat in this room who are on the phones, Mr. Seller, ringing out your property, generating activity. Then it involves Rightmove, then it involves XXX, rather than, yes, we'll get it on Rightmove for you straight away, Mr. Seller.
Yeah.
And then waiting for the phone to ring.
Do you think estate agents are worried that if they don't whack it on, they'll lose the property to another agent then?
Well, I think there's a bit of that, but it's all about how you explain things, isn't it? And the reality of this situation is we know that sometimes you are better placed as an agent who everybody's got a vast database of applicants and buyers. As an agent, we are best placed to get more viewings and generate more activity if we pick up the phone before it hits Rightmove.
Pick up the phone, that sounds a bit alien to me.
I know. Greatest bit of prop tech ever invented
Very much so.
is the telephone. Unfortunately, it's never used.
Why? Is it a millennial thing? I mean, we're going to talk about millennials later in the show, but do you think that's because the younger generation who, I'm sorry, are quite obviously the neg level, are they afraid to pick up the phone?
I think there's an element of that, but there's also an element of the fact that I think people are quite used to constantly having to leave messages.
Yeah.
Because of 10 years ago, we started to say, rather than getting all the information from a buyer to contact them at any point, we started to say, what's the best number for you? Which is always gets the answer at my mobile, which you're going to ring and I'm never going to answer it. And we do live in a day and age also of the fact that we don't answer very often numbers we don't recognise. We answer names. You know, and I suppose it's why Apple and Google, Android, are always put that, this might be Chris Watkin calling afterwards, trying to encourage you to actually answer the phone. But we have to leave messages. And of course, you leave messages with people, they don't phone you back because what you've got to say isn't that important perhaps sometimes. Or that's the perception of the customer.
So how do we actually get people to answer the phone?
Well, normally like that.
Hello?
Or actually like that,
Hello?
probably.
Yeah.
Well, that's, for me, for us, what we talk about often, and this is, we still practice this now, is how you position yourself with the person at the first point of contact.
Okay. So give me some tips.
So, well, go on.
Well, the first
Stop and take a breath and do the talk.
Usually. The first thing that I would say, and this is a big point for me, is having your own personal profile. It doesn't matter whether you're a negotiator in a branch or a lister or the owner of the business. As far as I'm concerned, social media, Instagram, Facebook, whatever your chosen channel may be, LinkedIn perhaps, has meant that we can create ourselves a profile and position ourselves as an expert. But to do that, we also must have complete knowledge and behave like a trusted advisor. We need to be someone worth talking to. So that's really going to make sure that the phone gets answered, number one. But number two, there's far too much nicety going on. There's not enough resilience going on in terms of when people do ring. So people get through to an answer machine and they leave war and peace about why they're calling, rather than a bit of a urgency. We use the ADA principle. I'm sure you've heard about it in marketing.
Share it with the guys at home.
Okay, so it's attention, interest, desire and action. And we use that through...
You got that right for once.
Yeah. I've got some other phrases that I use for that, but that's a different conversation altogether. But basically, we don't just say about using that in property marketing or in your own content. We talk about using that when you're leaving a message. So actually leave an advert, create a sense of urgency and get those people.
Because you do a lot of mystery shopping with agents. I don't want you to mention any names.
Yeah.
Please
We
don't.
wouldn't.
No, but what sort of things are you hearing on these phone calls from next? You know, and it's just fluffy stuff saying, "Hi, I've got a property," and then they reel it off everything.
That would be nice, yeah. But often we don't hear an awful lot about that at all. If we're calling up about a property, and typically what happens is we'll email in initially to get the written response first and measure the speed of response. But we'll ask questions such as, you know, I've seen this property on Rightmove, how close is it to the station? And then you get, what's that one the other day that you had? Which will have to remain nameless, obviously.
They weren't sure. They thought it was half an hour, but to be honest, they weren't sure. And that was literally their written response.
They're very honest about it, in fact,
Yes,
we didn't know.
But I would have expected more from my local property professional who is selling that house. And frankly, this goes back to the expectation of Rightmove receptionists, or are we, aren't we, is that sometimes if we told our vendor customers, the people that are paying our bills, what we actually do, and this is Brian's favourite topic, when we go to market home, some of them would be really, really very disappointed in the fact that we are sticking it on Rightmove and not actually getting that.
Well, it's the knowledge, isn't it? That's the point. It's, you know,
knowledge.
Quite often I'm surprised, and maybe I'm old school on this fact, but I believe that if you are selling someone's home for them, I did a piece with you before about selling your mum's house. We believe
I bring that out every couple of weeks.
Yeah,
the punters, they love it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, my mum loved it as well.
It'll be on the playlist if you want to get
it. On the playlist.
Yeah.
But the fact that we don't know an awful lot about property that we are selling, so we are, you know, people that are selling someone's prized asset, and we don't know an awful lot about it. And so when someone calls us about it, we can't answer certain questions.
I mean, I find
we haven't seen it.
I find it very strange that, as a matter of course, most agents don't send their negs out to the property they're selling.
Yeah, big
because they don't have time.
Well, they bloody time.
They do have time.
They do have time.
You can make time.
Exactly.
But that's the current excuse du jour is we don't have time.
Maybe we could do a video on time management in the list.
If we have some time for it, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get some time. So, is there anything else you want to say? So basically, you're saying to agents that don't just be reactive for the Rightmove leads, be proactive, know the property, know the locality, and you have the tips about leaving messages for people that make them want to ring, using this ADA principle you used.
Yeah, leaving an advert, something like Sarah said, being a bit more assertive about it, you know, leaving a message to say, I've got this great property that's just literally come available. I want to speak to you about it.
Thought of you.
I thought of you. I've got a lot of people to call today, but actually I'd really like to try and speak to you before 5 o'clock if I can. It's exactly what you asked me to call you about. And that's my point, is that the qualifying of people for the first time could be a little bit deeper.
And if you think about it, if you don't rush to put it on Rightmove, they've got to ring you because they're interested.
Absolutely.
Well, it's funny. I'm looking for a house at the moment, and an agent texts me saying it's coming on the market next week, and I told the wife, and she's really excited. So, you know, just waiting for it to come on Rightmove, I could see it all. But I've just and you create a story in your head, don't you?
But that's such a great point as well. You've just mentioned the text.
Make a text, yeah, exactly.
Text with a telephone number in. Call me back. It's urgent. I've got something that you must say. Nobody else knows about it yet. Surely. If they're a hot buyer or even remotely hot, they're going to be interested.
Well, we all check our text, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely right.
So there you go. There's a top tip for you. Start texting, or like even WhatsApp.
Use WhatsApp, absolutely big fans of that.
Yeah.
Why not?
Especially
big
in the
fans of
London
that.
market, because obviously there's a lot of overseas, and they use WhatsApp for everything. Some of our London clients, don't they? So
Absolutely right.
So when you basically, another thing is when people say what's the best number to get you on, don't just take the first, take many of them.
Yeah, so if I have a property that you want to hear about before everybody else, how can I reach you the quickest?
Cracking line. There you go. Top tips. Well done, guys.
There we go.
Thanks.
Cheers.